Welcome everyone. Can you hear me okay? Was it going? There we go. We got it. This group, I'm so excited. I was so excited to be here, but the energy in this room, you guys, give yourselves a round of applause for coming. Are you feeling some good energy? It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. So obviously you heard from my introduction. I'm on the sales side, so I'm kind of curious who I have here, which before I forget, Karen, I owe you a debt of gratitude for I sent her my PowerPoint and I created, I'm not a tech person, I'm a salesperson. Okay, so I sent it to her on Canva and she goes, well, the font's not matched. I'm going, She gave me instructions, but it didn't work. And so she just totally made it magic happen. So I could not have the presentation without you, Karen. So thank you so much. Thank you. Give her a hand. Yes, put it all together. So speaking of that, if you're in sales, we all have to have those people in our back corner. So who in the room works on the back side, like in operations and sales support and all this stuff that we could not handle? If you're in sales, you could not live without that. We could not live without you. Raise your hand. A few people, okay. How many of you are maybe in HR?
Just me, I think.
Just you? Okay, what about products or systems? A few more hands. What am I missing? Because I don't know all of your world and all your departments. What am I missing?
Corporate training.
Oh, there we go. Corporate training. They're good. What else? Compliance. Oh, man. Okay, speaking of compliance, anybody here with underwriting? That's another one that makes me go, oh. No underwriting friends in here? Okay, good. But compliance, you're a close cousin, right? Kind of, sort of, yes. But we all have to work together to make the whole wheel go, right? So grinding is only for coffee beans. So let me get my slide going and I will do my best to keep on track. So I really want to talk today about living your life. I'm going to move back a little so I can see my screen. Designing your life as a whole 360 woman. So I'm coining a new terminology, a new frame. I want to think whole 360. We know that's a whole circle, correct? So I'll give you a little bit of my background and story, which, by the way, that's a brand new headshot. What do you think? You like that one?
Love it.
I had to have a new updated one with my bangs. My daughter's sister-in-law, my mom turned 90 last weekend, and we had a birthday celebration, took family pictures, and so I said, hey, Kayla, grab me some headshots. I need some with my bangs. So there we go. There it works. So Karen shared a little bit of my story, but I wanted to go in a little bit deeper level because I think that whenever I've had someone that's really impacted me from a speech standpoint or a speaker, it's usually some of their personal story that I can relate to. It's not just a bunch of words and talk. Because everybody agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of my background. I do have a disclaimer. If you haven't figured it out already, turn your ears on because I talk fast when I get excited. Have you figured that out already? And I'm also can be very bold and direct, but usually the bolder and more direct I get is usually directly in proportion with the passion that I have behind my message. Is that fair? So not any offense, it's just sometimes that's the only way I can get the words out. And the last thing I will say is I could not be anywhere that I am in my life without my faith and with God, and I'm not ashamed to share that. Other people may use other references or terminology, but I choose to give God the credit. So disclaimer with that. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Oh, great. Oh, yay. Praise Jesus. No, okay. There we go. Amen. Okay. All right. And gentlemen, I've got some man references in here. Nothing discredited or whatever, but I'm just going to roll with the flow here. We'll see how I punt, okay?
I have 5 older sisters. There's probably nothing I could ever
I love it. So I never really thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. I really I was selling radio advertising a few decades ago. And I looked at my boss who was there in the morning and he was there at night, and I went, how is this going to work with getting married and having a family? And one of my radio station clients approached me about Mary Kay, and that became a journey of a 25 plus year career. I said, if I can make that much money, I'll make myself like this stuff. And if I have to do those damn parties, I will. Oh, once in a while I put a cuss word in there. Sorry about that too, okay? And that's how that kind of got started. And it was about where my values lined up with freedom and flexibility. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I also knew that I was not designed to be a stay-at-home mom. I needed to have a blend of those two. So I did have all the things in Mary Kay. I was in the top 5% of the company. I earned 14 cars. 7 of those were pink Cadillacs. So I was all that in a bag of chips and all the stuff. I would tell you that what I have as my success and where I am in my life today would not be there without that career and that journey and all the things I learned along the way. But the other piece of it that's the real part is, I think at the time I was like probably a lot of you in here who have been there or maybe are currently there, that I was, in Mary Kay, and I built the business so that when I got married and had kids, got married, couldn't get pregnant, ended up adopting 2 kids, both of them who we were able to meet through Mary Kay contacts. So go figure, my whole life at that point was because of Mary Kay contacts. Moved out to Washington State because my kid's dad wanted to move out there. And it was really just about, I found myself just about juggling all of this stuff, being the perfect mom, being the perfect, mom who showed up at the school at work, who was doing all the work stuff, all the career and all this stuff. And on the surface, I mean, people went, wow, how do you do all that? And I was functioning on lots of levels in terms of my time management and my productivity, because I developed skill sets to do that. But behind the scenes, I didn't realize how much I was just struggling emotionally, mentally, and on some level physically. I probably, because of some situations also when my marriage was close to maybe like a nervous breakdown kind of thing. Because I was trying to be Superwoman and do it all. And do everything for everyone else, including him and the 2 kids. And there comes a breaking point. And that happened when I had, in 2007, when I had a milestone birthday. I'm not gonna tell you what year it was, but anyway, I had a milestone birthday. And then in September, that was in June, and then in September, my dad passed away from cancer. And then in December, my son was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic. All 3 of those things were major pivots and lifestyle changes. And I just found myself, especially when my dad passed away, I said, I've given up and done all this with my life, and something needs to change because I'm not feeling happy and joyful on the inside. Anybody relate to that or ever been at that spot? Okay. So I chose to move back to Nebraska, and I chose Omaha. I didn't know anyone other than any Mary Kay people, but I just knew that this is a place that I wanted to come back, and God literally just said, move home. And so I did. And did Mary Kay for a few years, but I just really lost my zest and my passion. A lot of it was because the divorce is very contentious and ugly and expensive, 6-figure expensive with attorney's fees. So I found myself about 3 or 4 years, probably it was 2013, 2014, I resigned from Mary Kay, tried a couple of other companies, and was just at a loss. And I went down to my mom's at Harlan County Reservoir. Anybody know where that's at? I'm going the wrong way. Sorry about this. Here we go. I don't know how to operate a PowerPoint. Anyway, went down to my mom's, thought I would just kind of regroup, and I answered an ad for payments. And I went, well, I took payments when I was in, credit cards when I was in Mary Kay, so I kind of know what payments are about. Yeah, right. That was my knowledge. And I started with a company who would set my appointments. And when they set my appointments, then I would just go show up in little itty bitty businesses, and they expect me to do a 1-call close. Now, I did everything right. I did never intentionally take advantage of people, but doing 1-call close is not an easy thing to do without feeling like you're the really pushy, lapel grabbing, commission breath person, right? And I actually had someone who knew me from Mary Kay call me one day, and she said, well, if you're gonna be in payments, you need to come over to our side of the fence. And I said, no, I'm good, because you know how we do that, right? And through a long conversation, I end up with Heartland on January 1st of 2015. Anybody know about Heartland, right? Yep. We all have heard of Heartland. Had a really good journey with Heartland the first probably 2 or 3 years when they were still Heartland. Then when Global purchased them, everything went to hell. It did. It just all went, the culture went down. There were a lot of things that happened. Coincidentally, my leader and mentor, she and I really worked together as a team. I had a lot of leadership experience from Mary Kay. She had all the payment experience, and I was the first person on her team when she was promoted to a division manager. We built the team to 10 or 12 people, and I helped some of the skill sets behind it there in terms of productivity and sales stuff, and she did the technical side and the payment side, and we had a really wonderful, awesome team, but gradually they fell off until I was the last one on the team. She decided to take a position down to go over and then go up. So my leadership changed. How many of you know that when you can have a good leader, and then when you have a different leader that maybe things don't gel, that the job all of a sudden just is not? We all have experienced that, right? And I went from someone who was a high-level thinker that trusted me to just go do the job, because I have been in sales for 30 years. I do know what I'm doing. I know how to manage my time, right? And I was being micromanaged. We went through a strengths finder, and he said, how do you like to be managed? And I said, I don't. Leave me alone. You know, he's a nice human. He just was the wrong person for the job. Right? Doesn't that happen? Nice human, but the wrong person for the job. I love all, you see, you guys can all relate to this. So I'm trying to shorten the story here a little bit, and where I'm going is that he resigned, I ended up getting some different leadership in Kansas City, and I liked all of it, but at the end of the day, I found myself with everything that happened corporately at Global. My son had a lot of health issues at the time that I just needed to find an exit because I couldn't believe I couldn't sell the product that it had become. I just could not do that. And I was honestly gonna get out of payments until I answered a LinkedIn ad that it was an email, phone call, you know, one of those things where they always are reaching out and trying to recruit you. And the third time, 3 years later, I finally paid attention to it. And that moved me to where I am at Echelon. Echelon is actually owned by two of the three gentlemen who originally started Heartland back in the very, very beginning. And it's a privately held company, and I just really I work on my own as a 1099. I don't do bosses well, so kudos to all of you who have bosses, because I have learned that I don't do bosses well. The thing that where I'm kind of going with the story a little bit is that throughout all of that experience when I was in Mary Kay, and then also especially at Heartland, when we had to have a certain amount of appointments every week that we had to have on our appointment book, we had a quota I was really, again, going back into the hustle and the grind and burned myself out probably 2 or 3 times just going and doing it. And it wasn't until 2020, during COVID, when I didn't have all the quotas, that I decided, I saw all these business owners who were really working to be hard to have strong, successful businesses, but they were a hot mess, meaning they were working 60, 80 hours a week. They didn't know their numbers, they didn't have quality family life, their relationships were falling apart, there was just a lot of stuff that was going on. And if you've been on the merchant side, you've seen that they may have a business, but they don't always know how to run it. Lots of head nod, you know what I'm talking about, right? And that's where Chaos to Boss was born. I said, I wanna go help these guys, and that's where that got started. It was during my quest to learn how to build a coaching program, because I had the skill set and everything I could teach them in here, but I didn't know how to go build a coaching program. Where do I start with that? And it was through one of the coaches that I signed up with that I really learned how to let go of the hustle and the grind and to get into more of a flow. And the more I have done that, the more I have backed off and not tried to make something happen and force something to go. And you guys relate where I'm going, making something happen and forcing it and just after it. The more I've leaned back and put in some skill sets that I'm going to show you tonight, actually the more peaceful, joyful, calm that I am, the more I'm joking and laughing and happy. No antidepressants, no all that, no self-medicating in the wine and all that stuff, right? Not that I really, anyway. But you get where I'm going, right? But it was because of some skill sets that I learned from her. And so my intent for you tonight is to perhaps give you some ideas that you could not only impact into your life outside of your job, but also inside your job. Because sometimes you spend the majority of your life in your job, right? If you're there 8 to 5 or the majority of it, right? So if you can even impact some of what's going on to help you go with the flow more inside your job, not just on the outside, then that's really what I hope to impact for you tonight, okay? So, question for you. Anybody relate to this? Is this you or your phone battery? I used to be in that 10% burnout survival mode. And sometimes I'd go to drained and distracted, and then I'd go back to burnout and survival. And I finally was able to move as I was exiting Heartland into the managing and coping area. My son still had a lot of health issues, so that was a big struggle. But I would say I'm probably 90% of the time in that 100% zone. And how many of you know, just like your phone, I was making sure today as I was out and about, because I was at a meeting here in Omaha from Lincoln at 9 o'clock this morning, so I've been out and about all day long. So I was making sure if I'm recording this, I better make sure that darn phone is charged up, right? And we know if our phone is depleted, how well it does not work. I want you to think about, where are you in this scenario? Okay? Anybody resonate with this? Yeah. Do you find where you're at? Are you 10, 30, 60? Okay? So introducing the whole 360 woman concept. The whole 360 woman is a woman who creates, and I also would say whole 360 living. It just doesn't have to be for women. Sorry guys, I didn't know you're coming, okay? A woman who creates success with alignment, not depletion. A woman who is intentional, grounded, successful, and nourished in all areas of her life, living life on her terms, within her values, and fulfilled with joy and fulfillment. I think so many times we're all about our job, making sure we have a roof over our head, food on the table, kids' belly, the kids' bellies are full, they're at their activities. We're so busy in all of that hustle and grind, but the job occupies so much of our time that then we're just in survival mode the rest of the time. And what suffers is our personal relationships, our marriages, our relationships with our kids. Can we always be present? What happens to our emotions? What happens to our physical health? What happens to our mental health, right? That's what starts suffering. So it's all about taking care of you and becoming whole 360 in every area of your life, not just one particular area. So the grind, what is it really? What is, you don't have to leave your corporate life to be better inside of it. So I'm not saying leave your corporate job, but I am saying when I look at grind, I think of it as, it's not about the work ethic, but it's like when you're, I had a great definition earlier, now I just lost it. It was a good description. Because someone said, well, does that mean it doesn't have work ethic? Yes, it's about work ethic. But I think there's a point where it becomes grind when one, it's not joyful and you're not enjoying what you're doing, or it just becomes that it's so stressful or so the quantity of time that it's there that it totally just takes over you. So it's driving you versus the other way around. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so here's what we do about it. One, use your feminine energy. Your feminine energy is your competitive advantage. God created us different than the guys for a reason. But being in the financial services world, especially when you're in paycheck, it's a man's world, right? Oh yeah, right? It's a man's world. And I understand there's considerations when it comes to promotions, etc. But what if you used your unique strengths and your abilities to use that to your advantage rather than trying to outman the men, for example? And and I've learned that the more authentic I was, because I struggled a lot with self-esteem and self-confidence, and I was all about, I hope they like me, and I want their approval, and I hope it's okay, and it was putting on the mask and the face because I thought that was the way I was supposed to act. Anybody relate? We can just put on the mask a little bit, and that's this because, or it's the professional thing or whatever. I learned that the more I relaxed and let my personality come out, let my intuition, let my logic, let my strengths, let my vision, all my strengths finder, some of that stuff, when I let it come out and rolled with that, I became more of an asset than I did a liability. The other piece of it is something I really learned a year ago when I went to this retreat, and someone referred this book to me. It's called The Queen Code by Alison Armstrong. And it's a lot about feminine and masculine energy. And I was one of those people that I grew up when my mom didn't have a lot of money, so if I wanted something, I figured out how to get it. And if I wanted something, I would figure out how to get it. And unknowingly, I just very strongly moved into my masculine energy, which probably did not help my marriage. Other things contributed, but even relationships, I was always in my masculine energy. And when we women are in our masculine energy, or we can say things, gentlemen, see if you agree with me, we can just cut you off at the knees, just really easy, just by what we say, right? We can just emasculate you, castrate you, do all sorts of things to you, right? Unfortunately. So, but here's the thing, is if we can still accomplish what we want, but it's about what men need and want, and what we can work in our best power. And it's an amazing thing, and this is one of the reasons I love the book, is because it's written as a novel, and it talks about a woman, how she really changed the dynamics of all the men in her workplace, where before it was a very conflicting, contentious scenario with her boss and all the men, and she started changing the way that she talked to them. and it totally turned around, and it was actually a true story. So things like, I need your help. Could you help me with this? I feel like this, and just allowing yourself to be in that feminine energy and being authentically you. One, you don't have to work so hard because it's not like you're lying or becoming something you're not. You don't have to work so hard, because you're not working so hard, it also helps your energy, but it's you being in your authentic place. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. I alluded to this a little bit in terms of who the authentic you is, meaning that, are you editing yourself to be safe or accepted? Are you worrying about the opinions of other people that you work with? Your coworkers, your supervisor, your boss, any of that stuff? I know that I edited myself a lot until I learned to just trust me and be in that space. Does anyone relate to that? Do we edit? Anybody else in here edit? Yes? Okay. So be the authentic person that you are and think of those strengths. And something that you could do is look at the people that you probably are closest to, whether it could be your family, it could be maybe a supervisor, boss, coworker. And if you're not sure what that authentic you and what your strengths are, just ask them, what are the things you think that I'm really good at? Or what do you think that my strengths are? You might, there was a time in my life I couldn't list them. My confidence and my self-awareness, I was accomplishing a lot of stuff, but I didn't embrace who I was as a person. And when I started asking that and starting embracing it, that made a big difference, but I needed some additional help. So that might be an idea if anybody needs it, okay? Plus, do we see all this on social media? And there, of course, we also get into the comparison game. So we've got what it appears on social, did my mic just die? There we go. We've got all we've got on social media, but then real life is like, we're always putting the best foot front forward and always got that mask on. And again, going back and being real. If you came up to someone or they came up to you and said, can I help you or can we have a chat? You probably would want to help them out, correct? But somehow it may be trust, it might be taking your own mask down, whatever it is, but finding that really real person who you are. The other thing is purpose and career growth can coexist. So meaning, I absolutely love my job in payments and with Echelon. I absolutely love what I'm doing, and God keeps me in it, and I've got a team, and everything is very, very good. But if I did not have opportunities like this to impact women and speak and coach and all those things, that's my purpose. Echelon's my career growth and my financial stability for my family, but my purpose is impact and influence. And this time of year is a good example. I want to be like that big mower that's got the big swath. I don't want to be a little weed eater. I want the big impact, okay? So that's how you can do that. So it might be something that you create as a side business. Maybe it is within your organization. Maybe it is working for a nonprofit. It's just about what kind of legacy that you want to live. Because the thing I've noticed a lot is people don't live intentionally. They spend more time planning a wedding or planning a vacation than you plan your life. And then it's like, well, when I retire, I'm going to do this. I've got a significant class reunion coming up this year. We had one 4 years ago because we had to delay it because of COVID. And I ran to some classmates, and one of them said, we're so excited. I've retired and Patrick's retiring this year, and we bought a camper and we're gonna go, we're gonna go camping. 30 days later, I found out he had cancer and he was gone in 6 months. Don't wait. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. My legacy that I want to leave for my kids, for my future grandkids, that's what I want to do. And actually it all started when my daughter saw me when we were with our Heartland team at a water park, and we were just having a day out, just a team building thing. And my team members were telling her all the stuff I was doing to help them with their business, and I didn't know that. She just said to me one day, this is when she was in middle school, she said, Mom, did you know that when I'm bored, I stalk you on Facebook? I went, no. And she said, you need to do some mentoring or something. And I said, well, why do you say that? And she said, well, because I read what they say about you on Facebook, and I was talking to your Heartland friends, and she said, you're changing people's lives.
No crying.
No crying, right? I used to cry at that one. I made some really tough decisions when I left her dad, and she and her brother were still with their dad, and I came back to Nebraska by myself. Somehow, from the age of 6 until she was 19, I saw her every 6 weeks, whether she was coming here or I was going there. I don't know how I figured it out. I don't know how I did it financially. But when we're on a mission, we really have something that's important to us, we will figure it out. Because everything is figure-outable. I just want you to think about what kind of legacy and what kind of things you want people to say at your funeral. They're not going to say you're a VP. They're not going to say you had this role, you work for this company. They're going to say what type of person you are. And that's about what is your purpose and your career growth. Holistic self-care is a strategy. How many women, and it's not about going to the spa. It's not about getting your nails done. It's about your everyday self-care. This was the hardest one for me to learn because I felt guilty. Anybody relate to that? I felt really guilty. So things that you can do, because there's this thing about, I think with hustle and grind, where it's almost like a badge of honor if you're working through lunch. Oh my goodness, okay. It's like a badge of honor working through lunch. It's like, you know, I'm supposed to take work home, I'm burning it. There's all these things that are almost implied if you do all the extra hours. But again, what is it costing you? So, okay. Are you trying to let me so I can't see their faces? No, I'm just kidding. I wonder if we need to have movement or something because it automatically goes quieter. I don't know. Okay, somebody walk around. Okay, walk around. That's weird. That's weird. Okay, well, we'll keep going. So, true confession. I was thinking about this talk today, and I really knew a lot of what I wanted to say, but sometimes I was just like, I had my slides. So I just said, okay, God, you got to give me the words to say. And so he woke me up at 3:30 this morning. So when I got here, I was a little tired. So I'm parked on the North 40 over here because I pulled in early enough to get myself a 10-minute nap before I saw all of you guys. Okay? I've been known to take naps in lots of Omaha parking lots when I came up from Lincoln. Okay? You know, 5-minute breaks. We are not designed to work all the way through. It's not noble to not take a lunch. It's not noble to not eat at all unless maybe you're fasting or something. How many of you know, if you know successful athletes or you know anybody, do you ever see an athlete play straight through the game?
No.
They take a break, right? Because you need to recharge. Why do we think that we can work all the way straight through and not take a break?
Because we'll be there 2 hours later.
I actually have a little something for you for that, Christine, coming later, okay? The key is setting some boundaries without guilt, and it has to start somewhere. It has to start somewhere, and everybody starts setting some boundaries, then it gets figured out. Because we all know the more you give, the more they're going to expect. The more you give, the more it's just going to keep the expectations are going to rise. Would you agree? So you got to set a boundary at some point. I don't care if it's your kids, your husband, your boss, this microphone, whatever it is.
Hold it down, like straight.
Hold it down here.
Well, I think so, because you can, like, it is wacko, isn't it? Jim, what did you do? It works and then it doesn't work. I don't know, when you hold it a certain way, it works perfect. Just
Okay,
do
so
that.
just stand. I'm going to stand here like a robot and see what I can do. Okay, don't move my hand. Okay, just keep my arm in front of my, okay, got it. You guys are great. Let's go to the next slide. All right, because I'm running out of time. All right, so the other thing, protect your energy. How many of you have people that you work with that you don't like? Oh. They suck the freaking life out of you. Okay. Wow, that's scary. That was a lot of raise of hands. That was a lot of raise of hands. But here's the thing, okay? I've had situations where I've worked with people I don't like and others. But you can protect your energy in that you can choose who you actually want to be around with in terms of the water cooler, the coffee, all that stuff. You can choose who you want to be around. The people that you have to be with, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's somebody else like that. You have no choice because you have a meeting. So here's your secret. Just send them love. And send them love. And send them love. Because how many of you know when you walk in a room, you can tell what someone's energy is? Whether it's your spouse, your kids, your boss. You can feel the energy, right?
That's true.
Yes.
Okay. So what if you just started sending out lots of amazing energy and love to that person? You know what? it might, first of all, it's gonna help your energy and protect you, but secondly, it'll quite often change theirs. And here's a quick story. My ex and I, 6-figure divorce, and nothing was pretty, right? And my son had moved here, he had a lot of health challenges, and I had been the 100% supporting him, and I was honestly just really pissed off at my ex-husband because he wasn't helping anything financially. I was just mad, angry. And I actually got this tip from a Bob Proctor seminar, and so I was just like, okay, shift the energy, Lynette, just send him some love, it's all okay, I love you, thank you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, it's all la la la. The next day he called me and offered to help me out with my son, financially. Our son, you're right. Good point. Sometimes you're right. Well, that's another story, but anyway. But you're right, it is. The thing is that I shifted that, and it shifted the whole dynamics of our relationship, and that was like 5 or 6 years ago.
That's great.
So that's my personal example, but all of that same principle can apply to every single person that you work with. And if you don't protect yourself, why do we put cases on our phones? Protect them, right? Because we got to protect them from breaking or all of those things. So the same principle as far as the energy. Build meaningful relationships. I'm not going to stay on this very long because I can see a lot of that is already going on here. But all the people in these pictures, one of them is a VP in my company. We got to go horseback riding at Cabo on the beach. That was super fun last year. And who was it that said, my friend Felicia Weaver is up here on the left. Somebody knew Felicia. Yeah, Lindsay, you said you knew Felicia from her back in her thesis days. But all of my really, really close girlfriends, no one was in Lincoln or Omaha when I moved back to Nebraska. All of my close friends were in Kansas City or Washington State. So I decided to create a tribe. And this is my friend Felicia's pool, and I decided to create a tribe of girls. I just invited them over because if no one was inviting me, then I was going to create my tribe.
That's perfect.
And that's what we did. And now we're creating an annual swimming birthday party, and we also had a Friendsgiving. So anyway, that's that. So imagine treating your energy with the same urgency as treating your dead phone. What if you treated yourself that way? That's the design, and that's where you can go into your power and be in the flow of things. So imagine just being more relaxed and cool and not trying to make stuff happen. Staying in that feminine energy. So going to being the full 360 woman. So I have something I'd like you to do real quick because it really is important to me to get feedback. This is the first time I've actually presented this. I really appreciate your feedback. So please pull up your phones and give me some feedback on what you've heard today. And anyone who fills this out, I have a gift for you, and one of them is a self-evaluation. You will get that immediately. I also have, Christine, a desk card that gives you words to say to set those boundaries. And also a little quick start planner to help you go from overwhelmed to more of a balanced scenario. So I'll email those all out to you, okay? So, and if you don't mind, if you pick up your phones and do that, and then when everybody puts their phones down, then I'll quick finish up. So maybe a couple more. We're almost done. In the back, is everybody done?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I've got a couple more over here, and then we'll be all set. Someone closing. I got a treat for you. I couldn't not play that song a little bit, right? What is it that you really want? When you think about and dream of things, do you allow yourself to dream? What is it that you want? Because grinding is only for coffee beans, and we deserve to have a life full of joy and fulfillment, etc. So I'm going to wrap up. This QR code, it goes directly to a contact form. So I'd appreciate this if this is something you're saying, you know what, I would love to have you. I know of a group or something that I would love to have you as a speaker at. If you are interested in something as far as one-on-one coaching to help you get more out of what you're wanting, or even a type of a group or organization or department, that's what this is about. Also, I'm putting together a regular blog and a newsletter that will come out. So even if you just want to participate in that, that's what this is about. Okay. So I'm going to. I talked to